You're listening to Music Mythology. My name is Sam Romo, and let's talk about some music.
Very cool, man.
Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready to rock.
Awesome. All right. Well, Sam Romo here, sitting down with my buddy Kevin Davis. How you doing, Kevin?
Dude, I'm doing really good. Thanks for having me here. This is super scary, super exciting. Super exciting, man.
Yeah,
I'm loving it.
I'm excited to talk about the artist today. We're going to be reviewing Dawes, which I know is one of your favorites.
Yes, definitely one of my favorite bands of all time. Been wearing out these records for a long time, as you can see.
Yeah, well, it's awesome. It's good to have these physically too.
Yeah, I miss the good old days, man. Buying CDs. This may be one of the last bands that I've, actually invested in the actual physical copies of the CDs.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and in that way, maybe they're like the last great rock band to me. There's not the same emphasis on that anymore. But here I am, just outing my old man ways. Car full of CDs still.
All right, man. I still buy CDs.
Dude, I want to make a CD, Heck yeah.
Yeah.
My first record is going to we're going to have a CD for sure.
Yeah, I would be one of those artists that I would even come out with the cassette tape. I'd go that way.
Yeah. Ooh. Speaking of, their first record was recorded on tape.
Right.
Yeah,
that was actually one of the first interesting things that really, I don't want to say appealed to me about them, but I thought that was pretty unique. It was a good, not differentiator, but just something that shows that they're taking it serious in a different way. Using old school ways to capture a certain thing. Because they're a Laurel Canyon group, right? That's kind of the vibe they're going through.
Yes.
And so it's good that they they use that old method to bring in the character.
Yeah. And to some extent, it's stuck around. It's I love to hear, or it was encouraging to hear Taylor on one of the interviews that I was going through talk about how he's not great, behind Pro Tools or Logic, and just kind of how much of that is his vibe. Obviously he has resources now and guys who can, come in, fill in for his weaknesses. But it just shows like in a lot, and especially the first two records, I guess you would say, just shows how it really asks the question of what makes great music in a world where, it does seem like everything has to be produced to X value.
Formulate.
Right. But music is much bigger than that. And I love that about Dawes is like just a 4-piece, whatever, 5-piece rock band, depending on the era. So, and they inspire me a lot. And, obviously make good music.
Yeah. Well, that's one of my favorite, eras of music is the Laurel Canyon era, the beginnings, what we were talking about prior to this is, the Crosby, Stills and Nash, the Buffalo Springfield, Doors, Eagles. It's its own wave of music. It's its own kind of energy, its own feel. And that was one thing, especially in Stories Don't End. Because prior to this, the only song of Dawes that I was really confidently familiar with was "When My Time Comes."
Yes.
And I specifically, what year did that come out? Like 2000.
Let's see. When My Time Comes, that must be Nothing Is Sound, if I'm not mistaken.
It's the first album, I think.
Okay. North Hills. It's 2009.
2009, okay.
Yeah. When my time comes.
And I remember...
So great.
That's a great song. And I remember it was around, maybe a couple of years after. I think I was in high school, and I heard it in a commercial.
Okay.
And I really liked it.
Yeah.
And so that was the first time, because, I'm
That's
a music
your first
addict.
exposure to Dawes. Oh, cool.
Yeah,
cool.
Whipped out the Shazam and tried to figure out what it was.
Yes.
But it was a great song. And because to me, again, as unexperienced, I didn't know who they were. It sounded like that Californian Laurel Canyon, or like maybe even Nashville Kings of Leon kind of sound, but it was a sound I was drawn to.
Just
Loved
good California folk rock. Yeah.
Folk, yeah.
So I got to see that. I've got to see that song live a couple times,
Nice.
and that is just one of the highlights of the concert to me. First of all, Taylor usually he'll hang out on the same guitar for a whole set, right? Of course, like any guitar player in his situation, he has multiple guitars. But for that one specifically, I remember him talking about how he'd pull out this one, Blackie. I guess it was a Strat. Maybe it was a Tele, I forget exactly. But he's kind of a guitar for that song. And of course, that's the song where everybody just sings it super loud. It's definitely one of those encore type songs.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, it's a super great tune.
Well, it's also cool to find, like what we were just mentioning, it's cool to find the method behind it, that they went the old school route. Because I didn't know that
Right.
10 years ago or whatever when I listened to it. But
Right.
it still held that feeling. And I don't know how much that translates, or how much it makes a huge impact and experience. But I love that. Again, I don't want to be a broken record here, but I love that era of music. I've said it many times on my podcast that I grew up with that music, the 60s and 70s music, but particularly, a lot of stuff. It was a lot, full spectrum. But
Our generation.
And I've always come back though to that Laurel Canyon group of artists that just, because it's just such a great
classic rock.
Have you seen the documentary Echo in the Canyon on Netflix?
Yes, and I've listened to the album probably a dozen times or more.
I don't even know how many times I've listened to it.
It's fantastic.
That is one of my favorite music documentaries and albums. Just Jake Dylan kills it.
Yes.
It's phenomenal. And it's a great appreciation piece for the time.
Yes.
And to peel the layers behind these artists and all the mythology that's been built behind people like, David Crosby and Mamas and the Papas, and people that are now, they're far and away, or they're peripheral to certain, pop, centric music lovers. But when you go back in time and you look at it, and especially in that documentary, they literally are interviewing them and talking about where it comes from.
Yes.
And you hear the genuine creation of how all this stuff came to be. And it's kind of surprising because, you hear that the Mamas and the Papas knew a lot of the members of the Byrds, and they didn't think they were that big of a deal. And then when they became a hot ticket, they're like, well, we can freaking do this, Dude,
and there's such an emphasis on like the crazy wild 60s, but due to the sweetness in those songs, I'll never forget. I saw it in theaters actually, which was amazing.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So cool. Libby was dead. I was really sad. I got really stoned and I went to the theater. I was the only guy in there. I was at the Angelica in Dallas. I was the only person in there below, 55. And, but
same problem.
Absolutely loved it. Actually wrote a little love song when I got home because I was just so inspired again by the sweetness of the music, obviously nothing of the way it's recorded and everything, but just the love songs. Obviously they featured a lot of, Beach Boys and Beatles and everybody else who wrote really great love songs. But I wrote a song. It just inspired me, and I called it Tribute to the 60s. So that'll be one I'll share in the next several years. God knows when. But great documentary. And I'm with you. I have a lot of like music history catching up to do. Like anybody, our generation, there's just so much music to consume, and it's overwhelming, especially me because I want it all, But
same.
But I'm glad you brought up the documentary because it's fantastic. I love just about every song on that album. I think they did a really good job.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal showcase of what that era was about.
Yeah,
and more than that, like what you were just saying, there's a lot of sweet love music. There's a lot of beautiful, unique folk music. There's a lot of experimental stuff. It's full spectrum.
Yeah,
and bringing it back to Dawes, that's what particularly. Like Stories Don't End. Well, and they evolved past that. You get a sense of their appreciation for that time too, not just because of the methodology and how they produced the albums, but how they wrote it, the instruments they chose to use. I mean, what's the song? I mean, like from a window seat off of Stories Don't End.
Sick song.
That's a great song. It's like a straight, like, Southern Man, Neil Young, or some kind of Eagles, timing and cadence. And it's I don't know. Again, it's, if you appreciate that era of music, I mean, you will fall right in line with this kind of artist, because it's just, they've done it well. They've composed that feeling and into their music, and they hold it, very confidently. And I know we've both talked about this, but I mean, Stories Don't End, to me, I've listened to a majority of their discography, and this one just pins it. It just pins that sound. And this was their first self-produced album. And we were just talking about this, that I don't know if it was one of those scenarios, like I know it happens with artists all the time, where they get a label, they get a contract for a handful of albums or whatever it could be. And the whole time they're workshopping a lot of stuff in the meantime, touring off and on. They might be sitting on some material because they want to wait till they have maybe some more control. So I don't know if that was a moment like that for this group, where as soon as they could produce it themselves, or they were with a label that they thought fit them, that they came out with the hottest stuff that they've been sitting on. But it feels like it, because this album, Stories Don't End specifically, is just dynamite.
I think their career as a band definitely kind of consistently found success. I mean, obviously with their first album, they weren't already playing, with John Mayer and playing for crowds of however many thousands. I mean, they've gotten pretty big, but they did find success. I mean, great reviews on, North Hills, much softer acoustic feel. But again, we've kind of covered it. Nothing Is Wrong, same thing, a little bit more grit, a little bit more rock and roll. Really, when I fell in love with them, is Nothing Is Wrong. Just, the perfect amount of overdrive and a guitar solo. The opening track is just perfect. These Days My Friends Don't Seem to Know Me. And it's just probably one of my favorite songs in the album. Time Spent in Los Angeles. But not to sidetrack, they've slowly kind of made success album by album, each album being more successful than the last is kind of what I was getting at. And yeah, Stories Don't End does definitely feel like a culmination of everything they've been doing. But my gut is that Goldsmith is just extremely fucking prolific. He's just a poet in his own right. I mean, truly special ability to write songs. And again, in my opinion, and I'm extremely biased, but he's inspired me, as a lyricist, as someone who can write great melodies. I mean, you look through Stories Don't End, and every single song, I can sing because it's just so catchy, right? Yeah. Most people, I hope they've got something in common. I can give you that one line that's just really going to dig into your soul if you, give their music the time of day, or
there's a clever line. There's a clever stanza or something that it puts a feeling or a scenario into words that it encapsulates it. You can see it. You can see it. You don't need to have a music video even. You know exactly what he's going for, like from a window seat. It's perfect description of an odd interpretation of something so normal of watching a flight attendant explain things.
Beautifully done.
It's so well done. Yeah. And then it's accompanied by music that keeps you.
Which is not easy to play and sing at the same time. I can tell you that. I tried a few times and I just gave up.
So is he the lead guitarist for most
pieces? Yes and no. Nowadays, they have a lead guitarist in there, but he probably plays just as many solos, as the lead guitarist in the band. I think they're pretty much trading off.
Because his brother's in the band as well, right?
Right. Goldsmith Jr. on the drums. His first name slipping my mind.
Here, go ahead. I'll find it. Don't let that bother you. I'll look it up.
Great drummer. And one thing I love about those two, growing up playing music together, obviously.
Griffin Goldsmith.
Griffin, that's right. Is, it's, I don't know if they have any sort of musical education. It seems like they just started playing music, with their father and slowly just built something out of that, which I love because again, you know, it's there's not formulaic, right? What makes good music? Is it going to Berkeley? Well, it can be, but that's not the thing. You know, there is no thing.
You can't make up for a lack of soul or a lack of,
right.
Umph and what you're trying to create.
You can't teach soul. You can't teach emotional honesty, which is, I think, something, Taylor does so well.
Interpretation of what you feel.
Yes. Yeah. How can I put down something that means so much to me, that tells a story about where I am? But then the trick is getting other people to get just as excited about that, or to have the catch, and it is more than just that catchy melody. It's the lyrics, it's everything.
And you got to convince them. You got to convince them that this mood makes sense.
Yeah. And it's a daunting thing. Like I said, I've been writing a lot of songs over the last 4 years, but and I love that. I'm growing in my artistry, and it's great. And I'm having fun, and I won't stop for anything because it's what I love. But sharing them is so scary, right? Because am I going to connect? Can I connect the two like Goldsmith does? He writes a record, and I'm like, this is my favorite thing of all time. That's next level piece, I think. And it just comes with growth and as a songwriter. And super interesting topic. What makes people able to latch on to, like you said, that soul. That soul piece of a song,
Yeah. Well, and for me, also as a musician, one of the things that keeps me going is, it just makes sense. My music addiction. Yes, I might be a media junkie and be into a lot of different things, but when it comes to music, it's like, I don't want to say something as simple as it's like magic. It's something that it's so complex, but then when it comes into your world and it starts to make you question what music is, it just makes your brain tingle. And at least me as a musician, as a music lover, that I just, like I had an episode a couple weeks ago with my grandfather and my dad. And it's like my dad, he said like literally like what I think internally all the time. And what he used to tell me when I was little, we would talk about music, and it was just like, what is that? And it's like, when you have that moment, what is that moment with music? It's just as an appreciator of it, and as a complex appreciator, because you've, again, a music junkie, you listen to it all. Yeah. And when someone peels something back or introduces something that you weren't expecting, that's just, it's an amazing feeling, because there's something out there that you didn't know, right?
Right.
And as a forever student, that's what you crave for, is like, there's another tangent to this appreciation that I've always wielded so well, but now I don't know how to do it. I don't know this artist. Like, oh, okay, this is great. And that's kind of what the show is for me. It's like my attempt and coordinated effort to really bring it on. It's like, I don't want to know everything. I don't want to have somebody on and think like, I know this artist. Do you know this artist?
Right.
No.
Right.
I want to feel stupid. I want to be the dumbest one in the room,
Where can we dig to?
Yeah. And I think some of the strongest artists, that's where they start. They start from this enthusiasm of what it could be without even knowing what it is.
Of course.
And you pair that with a quick mind and a quick-witted lyricist that can, turn things around and put double meanings and put things into a written form that don't just vocally explain what he wants to tell you, but emotionally, you feel and understand it, and you can see it mentally. You do the second half of the job. You listen, because that's the first half is just to listen. Because like what you were saying, it's scary to introduce your art to someone. Yeah, it's like, but because
they're going to be listening,
and they're the second half of the equation. You're nothing without them, and so when they appreciate you back, then that's your sounding board. That's your mirror. Do I stay with that sound? Do I evolve like they have? It's like their sound has changed. They've introduced new instruments, different producers, all sorts of stuff. And that's what you do. That's how you stay healthy in the habit. Sure. But anyways, to the beginning, as a musician, I think to have that strong passion of appreciation, it's just, I don't know, it builds up the how do you say it? Like the wonder factor of what could it even be? What could I even be? Is this music going to make me more than what I think I am? Are these lyrics or poetry or writings that I'm putting down, thoughts I'm putting down, are they worthwhile? And then
what truths are in there?
Yeah, how can I prove it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how can I add to? How can I? It's a discovery of the truth too. So many songs for me come as just a melody and a one line. And it's just. That's what it is, but there's a lot more to discover in that song, as I've learned. The first time I sit down to write, and then I eventually add a good, pick out some guitar chords. There's a lot of truth to discover in that, and then, like you said, once I'm, take that step to share it, to get that feedback, which is so hard to get sometimes, like people's honest, critical feedback.
Right,
it's hard for a lot of reasons. Exactly, like. And, but, and let's not forget, Taylor started writing, very young. I think he was like in grade school and he was like, I knew I wanted to be a songwriter, which I think is awesome.
Wow. Yeah.
That's definitely one. I think I relate to him a lot because we're the same age, but also, I have a very different, upbringing than him. I wasn't immersed in music. Writing songs wasn't important to me till my, I wrote a song here, I guess, in my early 20s, but I didn't really think of myself as someone, who would pursue that.
Sure. Yeah. Cause like,
what I mean?
Yeah. Cause I mean, like my, I don't know if you know this, but like my mom was like a worship leader at our church. And so she was constantly playing guitar and singing around us and encouraged me to learn it. And, but my dad is just a huge music nerd and, just constantly listening to things, constantly telling me about stuff. And so I always appreciated it, deeply. But that push,
the bug,
you do it. Yeah, there was no one ever like, there wasn't anybody in my family that, like they produced an album and they're like, hey, you could do this. It's just like this,
right?
Because like people, because you're talking about comparing yourself to someone. It's like, like if I try and compare myself to someone like Kevin Parker, the Tame Impala
love him.
He was raised by a musician and someone that encouraged him to learn and synthesizers and the stuff that which would have been like 90s would have been not cutting edge, but it was popular,
right.
Or it was just getting over being super popular. And so he had a warmth to it, and he had an understanding at a very younger level. And like what we were just talking about, it's all practice. And so when you just start practicing sooner, you're just a professional sooner. And and that's just the difference. And I think for a lot of people, and right now, I think it's a good time to talk about this, that with the pandemic and things slowing down for this last year, it's like, I think it's been a year of consideration for a lot of people, or reconsideration for a lot of people, of rethinking that, of thinking, well, I just never did it. I never put it down to the paper because I just didn't think it was going to amount to something. Well,
right.
This podcast was a brand new idea to me just a year and a half ago or a year ago, that it took practice. It took warming up to the idea,
No doubt.
So it's just different timetables for people, but still. Phenomenal artist is always something to appreciate, and
yes,
especially in the lyrics. I know you specifically, and us talking back and forth prior to this, that was something that you admired a lot, and me listening to him and digesting a lot more. It's like, it's phenomenal lyricist, terrific writer.
Yeah, he's on the next level.
Yeah, I know I keep bringing this album back up. I really do really love the Stories Don't End album out of all of them.
Just My Luck. Man, how many times was I feeling low the last decade and just turn on that song? Just my luck. You'd walk into this part. Such a great. Knows how to deliver heartache, cynicism. Definitely see that generational cynicism in Taylor that I relate with so much. But really, one of my favorite lyrics is in that song, and it's the bridge. I spend my whole life moving forward, but understand it looking back. Like watching last night's tapes in the middle of a game. Just brilliantly articulated that, he's in the same place we are, right? Like the striving, the frustration, the work, the long days.
Yeah.
And I understand it looking back, you know. I just
Right.
think that's it's such a brilliant song. One of my favorites.
Yeah.
I can't pick favorites with this catalog, to be honest. I just love all of it so much.
It is very good. Well, even just the very opener, I mean, he's just breaking down as simple of a memory as getting a like a JCPenney glamour shot.
Yes.
You know? But it's like a lot of people that grew up in the 90s, you can relate to that, and you can understand why.
Yes.
For whatever reason, it's up in your head. Like,
Yes.
you know, like you can, you know, lean on that and that, or not even the significance of that exact example, but just as something so minuscule as that could stick with you for so long that you don't even realize that it's something that's making you who you are, you know?
Yeah, he's a great storyteller for sure.
Yeah.
Which of course is in the title to the album. Of course, track 7 was written by Blake Mills. I don't know if are you familiar with Blake Mills?
Right. So he was the former member, right?
Yeah, former member Simon Dawes, I think it is.
Dawes, yeah.
That I guess most of them were a part of.
Because Simon is his middle name, and then Dawes is Goldsmith's middle name.
Yeah, Blake Mills is a freak show, freak of nature guitar player. Really cool guitar player.
Well, he comes back for a lot of this album.
Oh, does he?
Because I know
he makes an appearance.
Because he writes "Hey Lover." And
yes,
then
he's written the song.
He produced,
which I love. Hey Lover.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So catchy.
And he produces a handful of songs.
Okay. That would make sense. Yeah, really fun album. Again, every song on this album to me is just a strong one. The only one that doesn't immediately jump out at me is Bear Witness. But all the rest of them I can sing. And
yeah, like I love I mean, Most People is awesome. That's probably the biggest. Yeah. And From the Right Angle, that sounds like straight Eagles. Like, that's an awesome song.
Yeah.
Now, one thing about this specific album that I wasn't aware of, but makes sense to me, is the producer of this album. It was Jacques King. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he just break down some of his discography. He's on not all, but a lot of Tom Waits albums from the last 20 years. He produced one of my favorite Modest Mouse albums, Good News for People Who Love Bad News. I've heard that one. Yeah, it's phenomenal. It's got
she recorded
The Good Times Were Killing Me, Float On, amazing. I don't know, it's a great album. He did Kings of Leon's album, Aha, Shake.
I drove my car into a car. It's hilarious.
He's produced Seawolf's albums, multiple Kings of Leon albums, and Cold War Kids, and even Jars of Clay.
Wow, look at that little tidbit.
Yeah.
Jars of Clay. Okay.
yeah. I think he's produced all of their.
Where's his studio? Do you know?
I don't know if he has a particular one.
He just records.
But he's an interesting producer just because I know some people love him or hate him. Just some heavy music heads I've talked to, I guess particularly Kings of Leon, because he did the album Only by Night, which was their hugest, biggest success ever, was Sex on Fire and Be Somebody, Use Somebody, Closer,
Use Somebody,
Revelry,
so many
Manhattan.
good tracks.
Oh, it's a phenomenal album.
Yeah, it's a great one.
But for some reason, like I said, I think because it was such a smash hit, on the charts, that just those big music heads didn't want to like it, But he was a producer on that one, and even Come Around Sundown, which is one of my favorite.
Why did Kings of Leon all of a sudden become a band to shit on? They're so good.
They're so good. Yeah. Well, I think it's one of those things where you become you're always fighting your old self. You're always fighting your old
your old ego.
Yeah, and well, you're always fighting your audience, the old sound. And
oh man, what a drag!
Yeah, I mean, seriously, that's got to be
success has got to be the worst thing ever. I mean,
it's got to be a weird phase to go through. As
totally
an artist.
Tough.
And such a weird height to climb, and then sort out the feelings of do I keep experimenting? Do I keep changing who I am, or do I stay dedicated to this crowd, to this sound that we've developed, or what do we do? Who are we? But it is funny that you say that because Kings of Leon, I feel like they've been pretty damn consistent.
They're amazing.
Damn, they're so good.
They're really good.
And even their last album, the brand new one, it just came out like 3 weeks ago.
I don't think I've heard much of it, but
it's pretty good. Yeah, I think of all of them, it's probably like the weakest, just because it can get lost in the haze. Like if you put that album on shuffle with the last two, you probably couldn't really tell which one it came from.
Right.
But there are a handful of songs that are really, really good. But I think they've gotten to that height, like I don't know, thinking about anybody that's like become that big of a success in the same timelines, and like the Killers, like they can't catch a break nowadays. It's like, they might come out with a great handful of songs, but they're just like, that album is just trash. Like Rolling Stone will just grill.
To write something as magnificent as Hot Fuss, what a curse. What a two-way street. But and I going back to what I was talking about, this being like kind of an emotional journey for me. I didn't really realize until like I was driving here today, and like I got choked up thinking about Dawes, like, because this, I obviously discovered them going into my first marriage, with my late wife, and who you knew.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And so I had to break up with them in a sense. Like the last couple of years, like it's not true. I still visit their old catalog, but I certainly haven't been as much of a Dawes lover. So part of me was kind of like processing that, and just like, really just how much their music means to me. And we went to concerts together. Like I told you, we saw them at Good Records. I think it was The Stories Don't End. Like they were playing to a group of, 30 people in
stage.
I know
that stage.
Yes,
yeah. That's
And
awesome.
it was just
That'd be crazy.
Oh yeah, just lugging in an amp and a few drums. Oh, it was amazing though. And I think it was Stories Don't End. If I recall, he did Someone Will. And that sticks out to me. But like, what a beautiful thing to remember, like about Libby, like going to their shows, buying their T-shirts.
It's so personal.
Oh, dude, it's like it's extremely moving, and then of course losing her, just cemented like how much they mean to me. Yeah. But yeah, it begs the question of like, can they ever beat it? Like Stories Don't End. It's just a freaking man, just a beast of a record. Well, but I have very much enjoyed their new stuff too, to be honest. Okay. And honestly, I'm first listen with Good Luck With Whatever, the newest one. But I was listening to My Apartment yesterday and really enjoying it. St. Augustine at night, really beautiful, and worth listening to if you haven't yet.
Yeah, well, I was curious, like what were some of your favorite songs off of like Passwords and We're All Gonna Die, just because that's when they start to take a different route with their sound. Definitely
Shifting sands in the sound. Yeah. Is this record? Which one has
because I liked Feed the Fire on Passwords.
Feed the Fire is fun. Living in the Future honestly is one of my favorites. Hold on, I'm thinking I must be thinking of a different album. Am I thinking of We're All Gonna Die?
With when the tequila runs out.
Yeah, that's a fun one. For me, I gotta go with Living in the Future. Just a great. I don't know. It's almost his first one with a political bent. It's the first thing that comes to mind. It's definitely. He talks about the system, but and then Crack the Case I really love. It's a real beautiful acoustic, and it's got that, obviously not just the melodies he's singing, but the melody of the acoustic in that one, I think it is really great.
One thing that I've noticed about them is I really appreciate their bass, the bass player, or just the bass line, the foundation of their bass. In all of these albums, but like in the first one that comes to my mind is in Stories Don't End, like Just Beneath the Surface, and I want to say like that one, and From a Window Seat. It's just like a consistent like bass that and the reason why I bring this up is because they're building that kind of and I don't want to say that they're stuck in the confines of a Laurel Canyon sound. Sure. But at that time, because we were talking about this on the Led Zeppelin one, that I don't know if it was a technology limitation or just a preference that the bass, on the music back then, it was way lower or totally non-existent. You can't even hear the kick, on certain songs.
Yes.
That with their music, it's like you're getting that same time period, but in the modern sense, with the modern dynamics of music creation and recording.
Yeah, heavy drums and bass matching up.
Yeah, and everything's equal. Everything's real balanced, but just that solid foundation. Because I started off as a bass man. So,
cool.
So it's also like I'm just appreciative of that. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, that's a true foundation. It's not just like a background little thing.
Yeah. Wiley Gelber building his own basses.
Really?
Yeah, I think I beg to say most of, or if not all of the songs they've recorded has been, through his creations. He built with his dad.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he builds his own basses.
That's cool.
Yeah, he's a phenomenal bass player. Love his groove. And they all do such a good job of really serving the song, which I think is so important, for a guy like Taylor, who's at a band like, singer-songwriter music, right? I mean, It's really the best of singer-songwriter meets rock and roll.
Well, that's why I like this album particularly, because I feel like it's a good crossroads of that singer-songwriter and that rock balance, where it's like what you're saying, Just by Luck and Bear Witness, some of the slower songs, like it's perfect, fits the bill. But then you come in with the high energy, or just the I don't know, just the ambiance of a groove,
good grooves,
and of like a good road song. It's like it makes you want to do something.
Yes,
you're moving along.
It's great music driving down the road.
Yeah,
windows cracked type stuff. Yeah, really love it a lot. Really lucky to see them live the times that I did. And obviously just loved it. I mean, so much guitar-driven music, which is obviously another reason that I love them so much. Is it's singer-songwriter writing, but guitar-laden rock music. Really driving the ship.
Well,
so fun
because of my dad. It's my dad's fault. It's not a big problem, but I'm a huge Neil Young fan because of him.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it's the first person I think about, or Stephen Stills, when I listen to them, is you have this balance of good writing, good singing, like good composition. You know what you're doing.
Yeah.
But then you accompany it with these guitar breaks, these solos or whatever that just fit the vibe, they fit the ticket of what you're going for. It's like whether you're talking about any artist. I mean, you could be talking about McCartney singing "Maybe I'm Amazed" or whatever, and you can give a feeling to that solo. You can understand what it's trying to, maybe not translate, but just transmit, just to give you something. And like, like that song, like when in a solo in that song, it to me, it's like it's his version of the excitement of how it feels to be in love. It's just encompassing that feeling. And whether it's a song about sitting at a window seat and, talking about all the made up complexities behind what the attendant and the activities on the plane are being, or they carry an energy with them that's just it's just great music. It's a great I don't know, composition of I guess on this one it's 4 artists, but I don't know, it's just a great balance, and they really deliver a sound that you can appreciate on all levels, just music, lyrically, anything.
100%. I keep trying to think of that line that you're referring to, him talking about the stewardess.
Oh yeah.
I have to read it just because it's so amazing. They're pointing out the exits, but it looks more like a prayer or an ancient dance their bloodline reaches through. Like, so, yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't know, some of it's like unnecessarily complex, but that's what makes it great.
Yeah. He's definitely not. He's definitely not curt. Like he's got a lot of lyrics and a lot on every song, but again, he's so good at putting it into a coherent product and building a singular idea, which is something I'm struggling with. I feel is like I'm writing a lot of lyrics and I'm writing a lot of melodies that I love, and I'm starting to finish songs, but I'm not quite getting that singular idea, that kind of wraps it all up,
Like the hook.
Yeah. That what am I trying to say, And
well, that's an interesting thing, because everybody's process is different, right? Because you have people like Elton John who will write something lyrically and then compose to it as he's fleshing it out. He works that way. He'll want to write it out and then compose to the feeling of the song that he's written. And then you have people like Tool. Tool will have all the musicians flesh out the music for the majority of the album, and you'll have the singer Maynard Keenan go through everything and write to what he's listening to. So it's like you can go either which way, or I don't know, come up with a new method. But there's just so many different ways you could do it. Yeah, and there's so many ways to stretch yourself. Like I've been, for the longest time, I would write because I'd sing something and I'd be like, oh, let me flesh out that melody. But lately I've tried to do more of just writing. And so all right, so I take a topic. I've even tried some comedy lately. Just like write something absurd or write about a certain topic, and then take something that has no music in my head, which has been again, it's just like a new creative outlet, like approaching it from a different angle. From a right angle. I'm going to do that as much as I can, by the way. I decided. Well, and I think an achievement of a really good writer, too, is being able to tear away from yourself and to write something in the form of a character. Like, wow. Like he talks about actually in that song in a window seat where he's talking about the hero in the song that I'm writing. Hero in the song that I am writing. And you can talk about, let me try and think of someone that's a little like Father John Misty. Josh Tillman is the artist, but Father John Misty is his character. Wow. Josh Tillman is not Father John Misty, but he writes to this overconfident character that's into all these weird things. At the end of the day, it's art. It's acting, to a certain degree. And it gets it across. It explains something. It explains this character you're trying to explain, express, or relate to. It doesn't matter. Because when it comes to, he's a newer artist, but even you throw it back to the 70s, you go to David Bowie and Ziggy Stardust. Ziggy Stardust was his outlet to be who he projected a rock star to be. A hero, a savior, but also the man, the one who could interact with anyone, could be a source for anyone. Just the energy. It goes back to what you said earlier. Who could you become? Yeah. And that's. I'm fascinated with this idea because, like, for example, like movies, like our whole culture is, of course we're obsessed with music. We're also obsessed with TV shows. And I'm always kind of thinking, this is kind of a weird thought that I've dwelled on, is like, we call it acting, like it's not real life, but it's like, what's so different about it? Because the lines are rehearsed. Just different cues. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. There's something in me that like doesn't want to differentiate. Like, like this is this thing we do, this construct, I get what you're saying. And then here's reality. It's like, no. But look how much time we spend enjoying it and appreciating it. Yeah. That is the reality. Well, I think that's why some people get so lost in it, and the mythology of a character and their perceived ever expanding universe of a small TV show. Wow. It's like I'll always love that show because it's just what they built. I can see it, I feel it, I relate to these characters, whatever. Well, that's what it does. That's how you know it was done well. But that's what everybody wants. They want more. They want, because I think at everybody's hearts, yes, they love to discover. People love being students, and as soon as you start to ignore it, you feel like things are just bland. But as soon as you challenge yourself and you want to learn more and push yourself to explain yourself more, then you realize that there's a lot more to get. There's a lot more to learn. Yeah. And when it comes to creating, it's hard because you want to be yourself, but then you don't, because you're trying to create. You're trying to be something outside. Right. As soon as you, just because you write that hot fuss, just because you write stories don't end, doesn't mean that you're not ready to grow into your next thing. Yeah. Exactly. You got a real hard dilemma. You got a world wanting to hear those old songs. Yeah. And you wanting to push to the next thing potentially. Yeah. It's super fascinating. What were we on?
were we talking about? Oh, I had one kind of thing I'd heard an interview. I got a little worried because like several important people are calling me. I'm like, no, they don't ever call me. Is something wrong? Is my child still alive?
They knew you were on a
Dude,
podcast.
that's the universe will do that to me. Like my dad never calls me, and but I'll have to call him back. I'm glad he's calling me. But Taylor said something in an interview I listened to this last week, and something that kind of stuck with me a lot, and kind of on the topic of writing. He talked about how like the tendency in your early 20s to write selfishly and to write your experiences, and how he's seen himself start to grow beyond that and expand a little bit. And I don't know, that really kind of hit me. That really kind of hit me because I realized like how much I'm in that spot that he was in his right. You know, again, he started songwriting at 10 years old. I started in my 20s, so you know, it makes sense for that progression. But I just realized like how, and I don't feel shame about it. Like I've been like using writing as a tool to process my emotions, and it's been extremely fruitful. You know, so like I'm excited about it. But at the same time, like, yeah, like, again, that's the topic here is pushing forward to a new character. Like, and I got a new song. It's called New Me. Cause ultimately it's like, yeah, I'm growing. I'm writing these songs to shed this skin and to be something, hopefully that's of service to more people. Hopefully that is better suited to serve my 4-year-old's needs, on a daily basis, better suited to, have and hold a romantic relationship or whatever else it may be, So that's a really cool thing I think about artistry. But yeah, it's getting stuck in an ego. That's a real interesting topic for sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, ego is you can't have music without it.
Yeah.
But you also, it's hard to stay healthy in the music world with it sometimes, or with certain egos. I'll put it that way.
With certain egos. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I feel like for a band and a culmination where there's not just one guy calling all the shots, writing everything, domineering the creative process, when you're all working cohesively together, you can't have that. It's full honesty. It's full criticism, but it's open. It's like open forum. It's like, well, you're just, it's full honesty. That's all it is. It's like, because I mean, as a musician, I mean, it's when you're creating and you're performing, whether it's for 100 people, 1,000 people, or your immediate bandmate who's going to judge you about what's going to be written down on paper or recorded in the system, doesn't matter. It's the pressure, and you feel the pressure, and that's just the pressures of reality. What you feel when you feel like you just burnt your steak, when you feel like you just crashed into something. It's like it's just that nervousness you feel, and you gotta run to it. You got to run to it. Yeah, and don't feel like how am I gonna put this? Don't feel like you have to hold on to everything that makes you what you think is you. To realize that. Like, because when I think about, I mean, trust
me, I was really close to canceling this podcast. I was going to run from it so fast.
But I feel like there's something to the immediate, nature you fall into when you feel intimidated, or you feel like someone's not going to know what you're really trying to get across. And I think that's the, you build an appreciation for the challenge, because you build an appreciation for yourself in that moment, because you realize that's who you really are. When you're comfortable, that's just who you can choose to be. But when you're in your discomfort, that's when you have to show who you really are, because you can't fake that you don't know how to play guitar, or you can't fake that you know how to play the guitar. You can't fake that you know what the note G is. There's none of that. It's all laid bare, and it's just who you are. Wow. And I just think that when you can practice that and you can hold it, I mean, that's how you have a 10-year-old writing lyrics that by the time they're in their 20s, they can pump out stuff like this, is because they're practiced in it. They know what they're doing. They're comfortable.
Yeah.
It's a challenge, but it's just at a different level of comfort. It's still a challenge, because I mean, talking to people and watching documentaries, reading things, and I look forward to the future where I can interview more artists and get their real insight on how they felt in certain moments, but they're still nervous. It's always there,
Everybody,
and it's just it's a different mechanism on how you broach it, how you approach it, and master it and walk away from it. as yourself. Because
Yeah.
I think as an artist that really knows who they are and knows where they're going, they'll always welcome the challenge, because it's not a challenge. It's just me. You're just trying to know me, right?
It's just my next thing. Fail or succeed.
Yeah,
I'm going forward either way.
If I'm a good storyteller, if I'm a good communicator, I should be able to deliver. So bring on the pressure.
Yeah.
You know? But
yeah, which makes me think, what makes a good storyteller? You know, because there's so many lyricists. You got guys like Radiohead and Coldplay who I can't even make heads or tails, but they sort of paint a picture with their cacophony of words, so to speak. And then there's Taylor Goldsmith, who's like, okay, kind of telling a story, but really, interweaving really great philosophical one-liners, and has a theme, right? And then there's other writers who, David Bazan comes to mind. Father John Misty in one song that I've heard recently, who could just like tell a story almost from beginning to end,
Oh yeah. Like, have you heard Mr. Tillman? You heard that one?
I think so.
His last album.
It's ringing a bell.
It's just literally like, it's kind of like a psychedelic story of him and his experiences in a hotel. And it's like,
oh, cool.
That's it. But it's like,
I got to listen to more of his music, because what's the one I've been listening to at the grocery store?
Honey Bear. I Love You, Honey Bear. That's a great album.
Oh my gosh, so sweet and so well done.
And you know what?
Yeah.
He's never called his significant other that name. That was all in line with the character.
Just made it
how would the character
Son of a bitch.
serenade the person he loves? How would he make it into an over dramatic spiel about how he cares about this person? And
I love it.
He's one of my favorite artists of the current age, just because whether it's pure comedy and he's giving an album dedicated to social commentary, he's doing God's Favorite Customer, which is his last one, where it's more self-criticism or relationship criticism and just natural relationship incidences. Or it's I Love You, Honey Bear, where it's a mix of love stories and love songs. It's all in line with this character that's just extraordinary, just out there with these weird perspectives, And
dude, I'm gonna have to get more into him. You're inspiring me to go back and listen to his whole catalog. Of course, I have 20 artists in my head that I want to do that with, provided the time. But
he's so good, and he was with Fleet Foxes. He was their drummer.
Okay, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I love Fleet Foxes.
Yeah, he was also a film student who became he became a singer-songwriter artist at first, and then he did movie scores for small people and his girlfriend or fiance at the time, and then he joined Fleet Foxes as a drummer percussionist.
Wow.
And backing vocal, and then
was it Helplessness Blues? Is that the name of one of their albums?
Yes. Yep.
Oh man.
Yeah, that's a
Love
great
that one. So beautiful.
I was listening to it today. Actually, it's on my player.
So good.
And so whenever Robin called it, because he took a break, the lead guy, Tillman, Josh, he took to this character. He just wanted to make a character.
Cool.
And
That's so
Father
cool.
John was the one.
Unbelievable.
An eccentric.
That's inspiring, man.
Yeah. Well, because
he just opened a universe for me. He just opened the Pandora's box.
Well, because it's like when you look at the character he illustrates, it kind of was like the embodiment. Because even when you look at how he looks, because when you look at him with Fleet Foxes, he's clean shaven. He's still got long hair, but he's clean shaven. And you look at him as Father John Misty, he's got long, bushy hair, big beard, and sunglasses and all that. He looks like Jim Morrison. He looks like the personality that Jim Morrison wielded all around. And that's that big personality he's trying to get across. And and it's just, I don't know. It's just
beardy.
And it's a great creation. And I know I paralleled it to like Ziggy, but to me, that's what takes it to another level. Just like when the Beatles converted themselves into Sgt. Pepper, they could peel away all these expectations. I'm not the hunky dory guy. I'm not the Fleet Foxes guy. I'm not the I want to hold your hand guy. And it's like, I'm tired of that. I want to shake it up.
Wow.
And there's a beautiful confidence in that, and being able to say, I know this isn't what you expected me, but this is, I don't know, this is what I enjoy. And as an artist, I think you get pinned sometimes. You get stuck, especially when you have a string of success. You get, like what we were just saying, you battle your ghost. You're constantly battling your ghost. Do I play the way I played that won these people over? Or do I play the way that wins me over today? you know, and it's just a
Dude,
weird balance.
that's huge. That's huge. You know, for me, there's been a lot of pain the last 3 years, and and over these songs hurt. And there comes a point where I go, wait a second, I don't want to feel like this anymore. And you know, and I'm writing different songs now. You know, I'm going to write a new future for myself, quite literally. It's been one thing that gets me through. It's been a thing that gets me through. You know, our love lives in those songs. And of course, my friends and family are like, please write a happy song.
I mean, that's a huge deal that I know everybody can assume that they know that when they're listening to music, but music is pure expression.
Yeah.
And it's an anthem in certain ways to certain people, that when you write things, you're putting your thoughts to words, you're putting yourself into a medium to be transposed to somebody. You're going to link up in some way to someone. And that's why you're so self-critical. That's why as an artist, you feel like, I don't have it yet. I'm not good yet. It's because you just don't know. And when it clicks, when it connects, because that's you, that's your works, you know?
Yeah.
And that's a tremendous discipline, though, to be able to look at yourself in an emotional spectrum and say, that's not the trajectory I want to stay on.
Yeah.
I don't want to be in a pit. I don't want to be in something that I'll allow myself to be.
Exactly.
Because I like to say, you know, there's not right and wrong. There's right and easy. And it's I don't want to do this show. I don't want to write. You know, it's like it's hard to do that. But when I do it,
it'd be much easier to be sitting over there and just watching YouTube videos of Dawes.
It's like I could just watch the show about him and felt self-satisfied. But I want to do something a little more complex. You know?
Cool.
But I think that's just. But to anyone, I mean, that's a mode of discipline that is so healthy when you realize that you carve your own path every day.
Right.
It's just your decision to make note of where you're at today. And because we don't have a GPS system that's telling us, you know, you've made it so many years into your life, you only have this many to go until this achievement. It's like, no, there's nothing like that. And so you gauge yourself by the people that you keep around you and the people you're looking forward to meeting or the people you wish you could be. But until you change something, when we're talking about compositions, I mean, until you change your mode of, you know, or mindset, I mean, you'll stay stuck. You'll stay in a groove.
Wow. That's some really deep shit, dude. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I'm glad the conversation kind of steered this way, because this is like the thing that I love thinking about is art and how to think about it and why people do it and, you know, what it means to people, you know.
Yeah, well, there's so many layers and levels to appreciation.
Absolutely.
I mean, even just like the fact that you own 4 of their physical CDs. To me, that's not just shows me that you're a fan. I mean, you're literally supporting the band. You're buying their music. You're not just streaming it and listening to it on YouTube. It's like you're throwing in the buck. You're chipping in. Right. And
it proves their value, you know, to a certain extent.
Yeah, but there's just so many layers to that and of appreciation.
Yeah,
you know?
I think so. Yeah, writing a new path. Stories don't end. Good stuff, man.
But yeah, I'm
So how many records have you touched them all, or are you?
I've listened to. Honestly, I listened to all of them except their newest one. I listened to like the single. I forget which one that they had released for that.
St. Augustine at Night, I think. Yeah, you know what? It's good. Like I listened to. I think I got through the whole thing except the last track. I really hadn't listened to it, which sort of surprised me. But like I said, I had to take a break. I had to write a new story for myself. But St. Augustine at Night, really great. Didn't Fix Me. Love it. So check that one out. It didn't fix me like I thought it would. It's got just that great refrain. Oh, what was it? What else was it that stuck out? Oh, the little electric. I can play 5 seconds, right? And it's just real beautiful. Yeah. So excited about this one. Excited about getting through this a couple more times.
Nice.
You know, rule of first listen, you know, not too many judgments yet.
Yeah.
So, man, this is cool, man.
Awesome. Yeah, dude.
Fun stuff.
Well, yeah, man. I mean, I really I wasn't gonna say like I was skeptical. This is a good band, but I really got into this album and all your favorite bands, and "We're All Gonna Die" is pretty unique. I really enjoyed it, man. I look forward to listening to their newest one too.
Yeah, for a minute I was like, man, I should have picked. We should have decided on something, that we both like. And I was like, no, he's going to be forced to listen to more, forced to listen to more Goldsmith, and I'm excited about that.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, that's
because I'm obviously a super fan.
Well, that's what I love is. I mean, even like last week when we did the Zeppelin one. I mean, I knew a majority of their biggest hits, but then when someone filed me down to say, no, we're only going to talk about the early years in the first album. Like,
right.
How well do I really know that first album, and having to dissect it and realize, like, oh shit, this isn't a rock band or a heavy rock band. It's like these are rooted in blues. Like, they started from there, and then they evolved. It's like, but wow, it's like it's not something
sort of changed the game. Yeah.
And not something I considered because I don't know. When I think blues, I think like Muddy and B.B. King.
Right.
And but I mean, they were singing Willie Dixon songs and going crazy. They just took it to another level. Just like Jimi Hendrix is technically a blues. He's playing a lot of blues stuff, but amped it up, changed
doing it his way.
Literally flipped it upside down.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just I love that, and I love the challenge of understanding the appreciation or understanding a new artist, because like we were saying, it's a different mode of expression. So
what is a record? Because again, kind of going back to, is a record even a thing anymore? So that's one thing. When I started to realize I had a batch of songs that like I was really going to record a record and really believed in that and for my future, I got a little sad when I realized like, oh, it's not going to be a CD, or like it's not going to be what it once was, and it's not, or maybe it will be. Like I said, I could make it happen that way. But in some real way, we're dealing with this new world of music where it's more about the singles. But I guess what I was going to ask is there any records that stand out to you, like as a whole unit, whether it be 7, 10, 12 songs that you have recently stumbled on?
Well, I want to reach out to the artists because I want to do an extensive review using their music if I can.
Okay.
Last year, one of my favorite albums of all last year was by Washed Out. It's called Purple Noon. And I just caught myself like going back to it over and over again because it was just so very. It felt like the feeling that you would get when the feeling you would expect to have when you're on a vacation on the beach, where you're just no worries. It's very mellow, but unique. It keeps you guessing with the noises he uses and the lyrics, because he's very. It's ambiance. It's very. I don't know. I just kept going back to that, whether I was reading a book, working on designing something, working on the podcast or whatever. I just kept listening to that.
Perfect background music.
Yeah, and it was just a really good album. But one, let's see, another album though that I really appreciated that only came out.
What's that called again? Purple Moon?
Purple Noon.
Purple Noon.
Yeah, really good.
Rings a bell.
But an album that I don't even think it's a year old yet. It's
such a great name, Purple Noon. I love that.
Yeah, it's phenomenal.
Smart.
Kicking myself because I can't remember what this album's called.
I'm glad that you're on board with Echo in the Canyon. I've never heard anybody else talk about that, but I absolutely loved it.
That's so good. Now that's an album that I guess it's been a year about.
About a year.
I was obsessed with that album. I mean, all the artists he works with. And then
fun.
Like what's that song? It's not What's Going On or Where Are We Now? It's an old Bird song. But it's Dylan singing it, Jake Dylan. And then you have Neil Young just going nuts on the guitar in the background. It's awesome. But an album from last year that it's a folk album. It was one I wanted to try and bring up if we were get to it. So I'm glad I can. It's called Float Back to You by Holy Hive. It's a brand new artist from last year. Man, it is right in line with that era. I love that 60s, 70s kind of sound with the organ,
folk rock.
Yeah, and the folky vocals, because the singer, he's more of a folk singer, and the at least from what I know from the band, he's more of a singer songwriter, folk artist, and they're much more like jazz kind of group, and so it's a different kind of build up. But it's just an awesome album. It's very smooth. I mean, it's something that you would expect from that premium Birds Beatles level. Like,
cool.
To me, it feels like that. It's something that I own it without a question. It's like, if I'm gonna do something, or if I want to play some smooth music, I'm gonna throw that sucker on. It's just
cool.
It's a good one.
I'll check it out for sure.
But yeah, those have been some those two albums I've, at least in this last year.
You thinking about doing some record reviews for the podcast?
Yeah, for those two. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Just because that one's a brand new artist, and then Washed Out. I mean, he's not humongous, you know. I mean, the biggest thing he's known for is the theme song for Portlandia. But just that last album, man, I just kept going back to it. I don't know.
Cool, man. Yeah, I'm gonna check them out for sure. Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm excited about your show, dude. Like, I'm gonna be listening to some of the old ones. I'm looking forward to hearing what your granddad has to say.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite ones.
Getting excited about new music that I'm, like you said, it could be something as like, well, I've heard Led Zeppelin, but definitely hadn't jumped into it, like I did after I heard the podcast. I was like, I got to give that another shot.
Yeah.
To the old guard.
Yeah. Well, I've noticed this, that for anybody that wants to criticize me, I know I've stuck to a lot of the 60s, 70s.
Dude, your wheelhouse, man.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, but I mean, we've touched on people like Travis Scott and Jay-Z and now Dawes. It's like, so I'm in the 21st century.
Right, I'm still here.
Give me some slack. But yeah, I want to mix it up. I want to keep the variety going to where, I'm always on my toes about, what I appreciate. And
for sure.
Because I don't remember what book I had read, but I remember just a passage breaking down the appreciation of music as simple as you either see it as music or as noise, and that's it. And I love the challenge of appreciating the music.
Yeah.
I walk into it expecting music. I don't walk into it expecting noise. You know what I mean?
Yes. Wow, that's good. That's good. And try to be open to what they have to offer.
Yeah, and who they are. Because again, I understand this is expression.
Yeah.
That's what I see it as.
Yeah. Yeah. I listen to a whole host of music. And I try to keep myself open. I'll still even listen to a little Keith Green every now and then.
Oh, there you
70s
go.
Gospel, baby.
Yeah, man.
Dude, if it jives.
What song of his I just listened to the other day? I think it's Your Love Broke Through.
Yeah, I know that one.
Is it that one? Your Love Broke Through.
Killer piano player.
Oh, he's
I got some of his sheet music once just to see if I could handle. What was it? It might have been that one.
Yeah. That one's an intense one on the piano. Yeah.
What a sad, tragic story too. His ending.
He died in a helicopter crash.
Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah, I think it was a small plane.
Okay.
With one or two of his kids. I forget. I read his book way back in the day, but
he's one. He's one singer that my parents played around us.
Oh yeah,
just because he's a phenomenal vocalist and it's so good.
Yeah,
I've always wondered. Now that you're bringing him up, because this is so surprising yet organic.
Right. Didn't know we'd go from Taylor Goldsmith to Keith Green.
Well, my family's gonna love this. But
good.
The one connection that I've made, and this is the first time I've ever really said it publicly, is now that we're talking about Father John and Keith Green on the same podcast. It's just so funny because Father Josh Tillman, the real guy, he was raised in a Christian household, and I always have wondered if he was raised listening to Keith Green, just because when you listen to the way he sings and just the finesse in his vocals, I always wondered like if he had. Because, I mean, you can also look at Keith Green and be like, oh, well, Elton John has the same kind of finesse in his cadence or whatever you want to say. It's like, but I don't know, man. It's like you listen to that.
Two different guys.
Yeah, it's like it's a different feeling. But I've always had this weird tie that I've always wondered that if he knows who that is, because the styles are.
Right.
You get deeper in the
Is Father John like an actual historical father, or is that just his person, his character?
Wild character, yeah.
Cool.
I think he, he's not in any way in the Christian faith, but he comes from that. He was reared in that.
Sure.
And so I think to him, it's a rebellious character. He carries a religious mantle, but is in no way that. You know what I mean?
Super interesting. Super interesting, man. I gotta jump into some more of his stuff. Just gonna jot his name down here. Yeah, I'm with you, man. I'm all into the discovery and the connection. Like try not to be a music critic and hear it for what they're trying to say. Have you heard much Maggie Rogers?
Mm-mm. No.
Yeah, that's one to check out.
What kind of style?
Maggie Rogers, Heard It in a Past Life. She's probably like mid-20s. She was discovered when Pharrell Williams came to her music school, and like I guess she was demoing. Students were demoing their songs, but yeah, her record is really. If there's a record in the last decade that's like just or let's say the last 3 years that I would say is one of my top, that's one. And super young artist, but like phenomenal soul, and the production is just insane. It's sort of gosh, labels are tough. It's I want to say pop, but it's definitely not pop. It's
labeled alternative. I'll just give you that.
Alternative, yeah, alternative pop meets singer-songwriter, whatever that means. That means there's a person who writes some music.
There's someone involved.
There's a person involved. No, it means more than that. The labels are helpful, and that's something.
That is crazy.
It's like it's same thing with like music theory. Like I play something and I'm just like, who cares? Who cares? There's sort of a rebelliousness in me. They're like, who cares what it is? It sounds cool. Right. Sometimes I'll discover something that's ugly, but I'm like, well, I love it. I can sell that.
Yeah.
Then I'm like, wait a second, let me figure out what it is, because like I got to, if I categorize it, well, then you can duplicate it in different ways, right, because you have better categorized it. So
you understand it.
They're all helpful and hateful at the same time. I think in music and in life, sometimes to our chagrin.
I think back to that healthy challenge of being a creator. I think that's a part of the bag, is you play something experimental, whether you're jamming or just by yourself, and I might not know exactly what it is, but I enjoy it. Because that's an interesting I don't know, writer's block, musician's block, whatever you want to call it. When you get into that mode of creating, and you have maybe half the band is super, super experienced and immersed in music education and all the complexities go into it. Right. And the other half just is addicted to good music, and they don't know, pentatonic scale and all these crazy, right. But they just like
they got an ear for it.
When I hear it, I know that's good, and it's always just so interesting. And again, being in a couple of different jam bands, it's interesting, experiencing that when someone wants to be super strict about where they're going, and someone else is way loose, and all of a sudden you build something that you're like, I don't know what that is. What are you playing? Like, I don't know what I'm playing, and you have to translate it and then understand it, and then you realize you might have just captured something in a bottle.
Yeah, and then getting back to Dawes, pretty much everybody in the band, at least the core members, right? Taylor and his brother and Wiley. I think Wiley I think they went to high school together. Anyways, I forget exactly. They go way back, but it's like they all kind of share the same, coming up, not going to, it wasn't like they all were in art school together and then formed a band like Jars of Clay, or like any number of bands that, formed out of a music college, but they just grew up with their ears, right? And certainly in an age where there's some online resources and you can more easily and more readily learn the theory yourself. But yeah, there's something to compatibility in your musicianship and flow. I recorded a little earlier this morning. I'm excited. I'm working on a song with a buddy of mine, and it's just so fun because it's just, we just vibe, and it's just like, we both just feel it. And like we were only together like 3 or 4 hours, but just, it feels like we always are getting a lot done, always on the same page, always laughing and having a good time doing it. And, so yeah, I'm looking forward to that collaboration, what it brings. But, yeah, it's special, and hopefully, with this coronavirus going back to hell where it belongs, hopefully we get back to, live music experiences and who knows what the future holds, man.
Yeah, stuff's slowly getting there.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think April.
Not for Abbott. I was like, we doing this.
Get out there. Yeah, I think like in New York, they're opening like concert venues for the first time to like 100 people limits, like mid-April or something like that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow. Cool.
It's getting there.
Yeah. Dude, I can't wait to be back at a concert.
Yeah, right. It's so weird. Like,
I'm trying to remember, what's the last concert you went to?
Ooh, not to brag, but Paul McCartney.
Ooh, not bad. Okay.
His Freshen Up tour.
Sweet.
It was a surprise for my parents.
Dude, that's so cool.
My mom had never seen him, and she's a huge fan.
I
And
bet that was amazing.
well, my dad had seen them. He says he's not sure, but I'm pretty sure looking at the timestamp, he saw him in the Navy in 79, which would have been Wings' last tour. So I'm pretty sure my dad in Scotland.
Oh, wow.
So he got to see him sing like Mull of Kintyre to all of Scotland. And that was just like a huge moment.
That's so cool.
Yeah, so it's like he had seen them, 40 years ago. And I saw them with Michael and Bonnaroo 9 years ago. And
Sweet.
It was such a good concert and long as hell. But I mean, the dude's got a catalog, ridiculously long. And
yeah, he's got some songs.
It was awesome. That was good. We actually saw him. He was one of the first musicians to play at Rangers Stadium because they're opening a new Rangers ballpark, and so they're converting the original one into a concert venue or an event venue.
Oh,
and
sweet.
so he was one of the first like big names, which is cool because it's like I grew up on that old Beatles footage, whether it was Help or Hard Day's Night or any of the live stuff, and I remember, specifically like the Shea Stadium, like concert and just, it's just interesting, like listening, like thinking about the parallels. Like when we saw him at Ranger Stadium, he's playing the exact same scenario as 57 years ago.
Right.
But it's like when he was at Shea Stadium, they literally, the technology wasn't there to where their vocals and the amps could project out to the stadium. So they played their the music out through the PA system. And so it was total crap, but it was the only way you could hear anything.
Right.
And the stories that the fans would scream so loud that you couldn't even hear the music. And that's why they had to shake their heads so loud so they could keep timing and all that junk. But it's just so funny seeing, watching that, knowing that as history, and then seeing him as a mid-70-year-old man, in the same scenario, but on this massive stage. So cool. Just, crazy visual
How old is he? You say mid-70s?
Yeah.
Yeah, somewhere up there.
He's like 74 or something like that, and
still rock and rolling.
Yeah, and knows exactly what he's doing.
Wow.
And it's also cool. In the 21st century, he has access to his full catalog. Which was something that prior to that he didn't have.
Good for him, man.
Yeah. Thanks, Michael Jackson. But yeah, no. So that was an awesome show. That was
sweet.
I'm pretty sure that was the last one.
Yeah, I can't even remember the last show. I think it was some like metal concert with Jonas Moeller. It was so fun though.
Yeah, I mean, I miss concerts, man.
It was like my first metal concert.
Oh yeah.
So great. And push into the mosh pit.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a surprisingly wholesome community, the metal community.
So fun. Yeah. Yeah, I'll do it again. I'll tell you, I was real skeptical. I was like, I don't know if I can go to this. I don't really listen to this type of music that much.
Yeah.
I have,
Oh, I just remembered something I wanted to make sure to bring up on this episode. So I know you and me, we went to a concert mutually with the fam one time. We went to Delta Spirit out at Granada.
Right.
Yeah.
Dude, Delta Spirit.
Yeah, phenomenal.
Great show.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, I remember I saw them after that. Or was it the first time? I'm trying to remember if that was the first time I saw them with you guys. But like,
I don't think it was. No.
Dude.
Because I remember we hung out trying to see if they would come out, and they didn't.
It's one of those bands you don't know what you're about to get.
Oh, it's so good. Well, do you remember that night, Matthew Logan Vasquez? He literally climbed the light frame.
I remember him climbing the light fixture.
Yeah,
What was he on, dude?
Yeah, and then threw the mic at the audience and swung back down to the stage, and then he climbed down and used the hanging mic.
Talk about a persona. I was like, this guy's on the next level. Either that or doing cocaine on stage. I can't tell which one.
He's awesome, man. He's one of the people because he lives in Austin.
Good fun music, good writing.
Yeah,
great sound.
He's one of the people I want to try and interview sometime if I can. Because that'd be awesome.
So great.
I'm a huge fan. Have you listened to his solo stuff?
I don't know that I have.
Yeah, he's got 2 albums, I think. Solicitor's Return and He Does What He Wants.
Oh, cool.
You should listen to
I'll check him out.
Both of them. I think you'd really like He Does What He Wants, though, because he has a couple of songs about fatherhood because he became a dad. Actually, there's a song called Fatherhood that's really good.
Cool.
I really like that song.
Dude, I'll check that out. Yeah.
But I wanted to make sure to bring them up because I realized, I don't know, 8 years ago, I was in a deep dive on Delta Spirit and him. And it might have been around when he released his first album, something like that, got me into him specifically as an individual. And I realized that he was in a super group in 2011, which was called Middle Brother. Do you know who Middle Brother? Have you ever listened to that?
I've heard the name, but I don't think I've heard
So that
stuff.
is Vasquez. I think it's, I can't remember if it's the vocalist or the bassist from Deer Tick. And then Goldsmith.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
And it's a good folk album. It's primarily good, just singing and guitar, but it's good. It's a good singer-songwriter album.
Oh, wow, I didn't know they collab.
Yeah.
They collab.
Yeah.
That's sweet.
Yeah, it's pretty good. There's a couple of songs on there I really like. There's a song called Portland on it that gets stuck in my head every now and then.
I know Taylor Goldsmith played some bass with, oh my gosh, his name's not going to sit, with Jackson Brown.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Toured with him a little bit.
Dude, I saw that he did, or Dawes, I think the whole band contributed to a Killers song, a Christmas song.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a couple of years ago.
Oh, that's
last
cool.
year. Yeah,
I wonder if I heard
unexpected.
it. I feel like I know a Killer's Christmas song, but I can't put my finger on it.
Yeah, they have a song from like a decade ago about Santa Claus. I remember. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's like a weird song. I can't remember what
Interesting.
it's called. But anyways, yeah, it just semi blew my mind because I literally it was this week. I had a random thought about Middle Brother and jumped into that album. And at the top,
You're like,
well, it said Goldsmith in the middle. I was like, is that him? And I looked at him like, oh shit, it's
Sure
Taylor.
enough.
Yeah, crazy.
Wow. Crazy world, man.
Yeah. But yeah, you should check out Vasquez's solo stuff. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I definitely will, man.
Yeah.
I'm ready to discover some new artists. Yeah, I got this playlist in my phone of like 500 songs, but I've just worn it out over the last couple of years. It's time to expand. Of course, I'm always expanding, but
I have the habit of I don't want to say it's like a disciplined habit, but it's like every month or 2 months I'll generate a playlist, whether it's like 60s chill or
try something different.
Yeah, and
that's a really good idea because I do find I'm limited just by what I choose to, right? I go to Apple Browse. Well, then I get fed 2 types of music, and exactly. Consequently I've listened to more hip hop and pop, which is great because you know what, I've enjoyed that more than I ever have the last year or so. But yeah, making a playlist kind of forces you to pinpoint what you're looking to.
When you hear someone new,
be a bit more creative.
Oh, that falls into this.
I'll get recommendations from Paste. I get their emails just because
Paste?
It's a music critique magazine.
Oh, okay.
So I'll get recommendations from them.
Okay.
Like I think I listened to the new Tegan and Sarah album, which was enjoyable. Oh, and another one they gave me was Sleater Kinney's. I forget the name of the album, but their new one is really cool. It's got some really great cynical stuff in there, which I love. I absolutely love.
Then you're gonna love Father John Misty.
I love some good cynicism in my music.
But yeah, that's been like my habit for the last like couple of years. Is like I'll make like a playlist every month or two, build it up with stuff I've never really kept around for too long, or I have, but it's been forever. And then I have a master playlist that, it doesn't even have a name. It's just the emoji of earphones. And I'll just, after a month or two, I'll just file that playlist into that one. And now it's like got like 3,000 songs or something ridiculous. But you just never know. It's my own jukebox now.
What platform do you stream?
I have Apple and Spotify.
Okay, good. I'll have to dig up some of your playlists. Apple.
Oh, yeah. That's
for
true.
Sure.
Yeah. Look me up.
Yes.
Well, cool, man. Anything else?
Well, I was just going to reflect on a third time that I'm not the only one under 60 who's heard Echo in the Canyon and admonish all of your listeners to check it out because I think it's probably a really underrated film. But you also need to go watch Once and check out Glenn Hansard.
Okay.
I think you'll be happy with what you find.
Yeah, let me write that down really quick.
Yeah, there's a film that, your wife might enjoy. Or just look up some of Glenn Hansard stuff, man. He's got a phenomenal...
Yeah, I'm going to look into him.
Phenomenal British folk artist.
Oh, interesting. Have you watched that? Because I'm not a huge Dylan fan. I mean, I appreciate him, what he's done. But have you seen that new documentary that came out about him, the Rolling Thunder Review?
I haven't.
It's pretty good. So it's really funny. It's really funny because that documentary just came out like 3 weeks ago. And like 2 months ago, I had, and no one hate me for this, I had finally found the Dylan album that I actually like. Because again, I've always appreciated the guy. I've always appreciated his lyricism.
I'm in the same boat as you. I don't have a Dylan album that I'm like, yes.
Yeah, it's like because it's like when you hear John Lennon talk about Dylan, he's like, oh my god, he just like melts at the idea of him. And I was like, I never got it. But when you listen to specifically the album, there's multiple live albums of his during that time, the Rolling Thunder Review. But it's the live album that I really like is called Hard Rain. And it's basically Dylan hasn't toured for a decade, and he's re-inspired. He wants to tour again, but he wants to tour with random artists, random people. I mean, it's a lot of different people. I mean, cool. he even brings on. I mean, he wears like makeup. He's more theatrical than ever. He even brings on Mick Ronson, Bowie's guitarist.
Okay,
the stellar, proto-punk guitarist. He brings him on, and so that. And honestly, I'm a huge Ronson fan. Robbie Krieger of the Doors and Mick Ronson, I think, are like two of the most underappreciated guitarists of all time. And Ronson had just gotten kicked out of Bowie's touring group and recording group, and was looking for something to do. I think he had just done a solo album, but wanted to tour, and so he tours with Dylan. So you get this high energy Dylan with a little bit of a pickup on the tempo, because you have this electric guitar just feeling the vibe.
Oh, cool!
And it's totally different electric thing. Dylan. It's awesome.
Very cool.
And then that documentary breaks down kind of the aesthetics and vibe of that tour, and how kind of loose and wild it was, because he didn't care. He just wanted to create and have fun with other artists. And so
that's so cool.
They went to, I think they went to like I don't think they went to a nursing home, but something like that. They went to like a small convention center, small banquet hall, just small little places just to get it out and have fun.
That's interesting. Yeah. That's cool.
That's a really good documentary that just came out.
Another documentary that's really interesting and good. I haven't finished it yet. Jimmy Carter, Rock and Roll President. Have you heard of that one?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, it just kind of dives into how much of his appreciation for music, namely Dylan, the Allman Brothers, et cetera, played such a huge role in his campaign for president.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's super. I mean, it's a lot of, music history and political history that I didn't know, kind of merged at the time. And I'll have to get my dad's opinion on it. He's gonna be like, "That's all hogwash." Played such a very little role. You know how obviously documentaries can be extremely biased, but no, he was obviously a big music lover, and had all these White House concerts, and there's footage of them. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
Well, it's kind of funny you say that, because at the beginning of that Rolling Thunder Review documentary, it starts off with current Dylan like being interviewed,
right? And
they talk to him about it. And he's like, I don't remember any of that. And he's like, that was such a small little thing. And they're like, yeah, but it was great. He's like, sure, like you said,
a little blip on my musical radar.
I don't even know who I was.
That's then, hilarious. Dude, wow, man, to have something like that, you don't know what you have till it's gone. Or till you haven't,
or until someone asks you about it.
Until somebody asks you when you're in your 70s.
How did you do that? I don't even know what you're talking about.
Yes.
Yeah, that's another level to have a catalog that deep.
Yeah, Dylan made a big difference with a very peculiar voice. There's a handful of songs that I think are really amazing.
Oh yeah,
enjoy, but yeah.
Yeah, but me as I just never got really into him. I really like Hard Rain. That's an awesome album. Just high energy. It's high energy Dylan to me.
Yeah.
I'm just
brings that electric component.
Yeah, and I know I just said it, but I'm just a huge Ronson fan, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a big Bowie fan, so it's like anytime.
Yeah.
Because I mean, he was on Man Who Sold the World, Hunky Dory, Ziggy Stardust, and Aladdin Sane.
Man, I just started getting into Bowie for the first time. I'm enjoying it. But I have a lot. He's got a lot of music.
Oh, it's crazy. Well, and he's got a lot of different
Personas
characters
too. Yeah.
Thin White Duke. I mean, it's tons. Well, and even if he doesn't put a name to it, he's got a vibe that he's trying to stay, in line with.
That's
it's
amazing.
Totally different. But yeah, man, I'll make you a playlist.
Yeah. Do it. Been listening to a lot of. Oh my gosh, I'm getting tired. I'll leave that one to dissipate into the universe of my mind.
Well, this has been good, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, this has been fun, man. How long are we here?
An hour and a half.
Nice.
It's a good run.
Yeah. Do you have a certain time limit you try to hit, or
no? I mean, they've all
we just hit play.
Yeah, they've all been about like an hour and a half to 2 hours, except for the White Album review. Because the album reviews, I'll go particularly like track by track and break it down.
Gotcha.
In the White Album one, because it's like a 30-track album and there's so much history behind it.
Yeah.
It took me and Ben and Brad was there too. It took me like 4 hours to go through it all.
That's fun.
Yeah,
I'll have to check that one out.
I remember finishing that one and taking because at the time I
just put your forehead on the table.
Well, because I was like, this is great, man. It's like we finally did it, and then looked at the counter, looked at the run, and like it's been 4 hours. Like, whoa. Like now I get it when like I'm listening to like Joe Rogan or whoever.
Yeah,
and they're like, it's been 3 hours? Like it barely felt like an hour. Like,
time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah. But yeah, man, we'll have to have you back.
Yeah, man, this is fun hanging out, man. We gotta hang. We gotta definitely play some music.
Yeah, for
Shoot,
sure.
I might be paying for you to lay a drum track down for me in the coming months and years. Like I said, I'm working on my EP, and that's a challenge. Can't really have a drum set in my apartment.
Oh yeah,
doesn't really work.
Yeah, but, man. Yeah, for sure. Maybe we can play something for the show.
Yeah, that'd be real cool.
Awesome, dude.
Yeah, brother.
I appreciate you coming by.
That's fun.
Until next time. Thank you for listening. For more episodes, visit our website, musicmythpodcast.com, and follow us on Instagram and Twitter.